Hello everyone, it's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo. A lot of time spent at work last week kept me away from the game, which is a good thing because you do have to have a life and make money so you can spend all this money on ships, right? So the last big thing I did was the the audio interview with Ben Lesnick, where he cleared up some of the questions I had the previous week. I got a couple of emails from people thinking that I was getting a little bit too critical of the game or possibly losing my interest or feeling bad, getting disappointed in it. And I think that perhaps one of the things that's going on is that I'm misleading you when I'm asking the questions in these blogs. These blogs, when I pose these concerns I have, it's just that. I'm posing concerns I have. I'm not disappointed. I'm not feeling like the game's not going to get done. I actually feel better and better about the game being finished each week. But there are certain things that I do have to take a step back and say, are they really going to be dragging people into this game 2 years from now if they're selling $600 ships today? Well, in the last week, we had a lot of talk at CIG about ships, and one of those talking points came from Travis Day in his article on Friday. But before I get to that, I want to touch base with the fact that they are going to have another limited ship sale. This one in that range that I was talking about, the sweet spot, somewhere between $50 and $100. And this one is going to be the Drake Interplanetary Herald. Now, the Herald is an extremely interesting spacecraft to me because in itself, it's just a single-seater ship that you get to go from point A to point B really fast. So it's kind of that interstellar speed racer, but it's not really what it's made for. So to go into the Herald, we got to go way back to a 10 for the Chairman, one of the first ones, where Chris was talking about how communications get from one place to the other in the Star Citizen universe. Now, communications could take months to get from one end of the galaxy to the other, and if we relied on just electrical, radio transmissions, they would take years, thousands of years in some cases, to get from one end of space to the other. So they built in this theory or this, I guess, mechanic in the game where you have jump gates or jump holes that get you from point A to point B real fast. For instance, say you're in our solar system, Sol, and you're trying to get to Terra. There might be 1 or 2 or 3 jumps. I haven't looked at the star map, so don't be critical of me, that get you from point A to point B in an instant. But you have to fly from Earth to the jump point in our solar system, get to that jump point, and then move through it, and then go from one end to the other again. What am I getting at? So say I want to send a communication to Terra, and that communication is a military transmission where I want them to mobilize a force and move it into one of the jump holes that would prevent a Vanduul swarm from attacking. Well, I'd have to initiate this radio transmission to a ship that was in the Sol system, and it would take a couple of hours to get there to a couple of minutes. It would depend on where it is. So say that is to a Herald that's sitting outside of the jump hole inside of our system. Essentially, what that ship would do now is jump through that gate and then go to the next system in line, and then burn like crazy to the next jump hole, and then stop there and beam that transmission to a station or a Herald that's outside the next jump hole. And this is the way that we're going to get transmissions from one end to the other. So what would have taken anywhere from 20, 30, 40, 50 years to a couple hundred years is actually only going to take maybe a couple days to a month. All right, so that's where we're at. Now, in the instance of Sol to Terra, that would be far less of a distance for it to travel, because I think Terra is actually going to be only like 20 or 40 light years from Earth, so it'd only be a couple of days at most to get that transmission through. But when you're talking about the far reaches of the galaxy, you're talking about a great distance that needs to be traveled. So they come up with this ship called an information runner, and that's going to be the Drake Herald. And it's got a communications system that's unparalleled. It's got a secure data computer that stores the information, and it's really fast and stealthy is what I believe it's going to be. We'll know more about it over the weekend. So this isn't really a review of the ship. It's a review of the cool things that go on in ship design. Now, we're going to bring that into the second piece of it, which is ship design. Somebody said in one of the last 2 weeks that I posted these questions up in my vlogs that they should stop creating ships and just work on what's there now and get them out into the universe. Well, I had time to read through a couple of things and to sit back and listen to the answers that Ben gave me again last week, both on air and off air when he and I had a candid discussion before and after the show. The reason for the great number of ships is that Chris wants there to be a huge diversity in this universe. He doesn't want there just to be a couple of the same ships or a lot of the same ships. He wants there to be ships that are built for the task at hand. Look around the roads today and the skies today. There are many different aircraft, there are many different cars, trains, and boats out there. And each one of them has a different task. You don't move a large amount of coal from Pittsburgh to New York in a box truck. You may do it in a bigger truck, but you're going to put it on a train, right? So that's going to be what you use. The same thing with, look at an ocean liner, a box freighter, and an oil tanker. 3 different types of ships, that have totally different tasks, totally different missions, and each one is made for a totally, in a totally different design. I hate when I get to this point where I start stumbling over my words. I write them down, I know I want to say, and then I stumble. If you even look at ocean liners, you have ocean liners of different sizes, and then you have ferries also, which are smaller, and their main purpose is to move people. So this is the approach that they're taking to this game. They want space to be living, breathing, and filled with different types of ships. So I agree now. I'm looking at what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, and bring to us on day one. And that means that there are going to be many ships that are going to be $50 to $100, and probably a lot of ships also that are going to be somewhere between, say, $200 and $1,000. Because you're going to have ships like the Idris, and the Idris isn't even supposed to be the biggest ship we could own, I think. I thought we were going to be able to have destroyers or battle cruisers. Or maybe they were just for Squadron 42. I don't know. I did come into this game last August, August of 13, but I didn't really get that deep into it until about 3 months after I started the show. Deep meaning reading every single word that came out of them. But I know that there are bigger ships coming. So where does that leave me in my questions? Well, I'm still going to have them. And I'm still going to want to hold them accountable at certain points. And here is another tie-in to that. So they announced on Friday, or I should say they described on Friday, in a very long communication from Travis Day, how the ship pipeline is built. And then we looked and read about variants. Well, the variant structure does seem to work very well for me. However, let's take, for instance, one of the statements that was made in there. It gives them the opportunity to make one change to one file and have it be pushed down to all the variants in that particular ship line. For instance, the Aurora, the 300, have many variants in each one. The Aurora, I think, is going to have 5. In fact, I think the Mustang is going to have 5 when it comes out, too. And the 300 has its 4. Well, they're sharing certain elements of them, like the cockpits. Well, if I'm going to be sitting in an Aurora LN that's task-made, or made for the task of small militia forces or personal fighter, and it has the same cockpit as the hauler version of it, that's kind of breaking immersion a tiny bit for me. And then I step back and I look at different cars. GM makes many different cars, but when you look at it, the lines might be, and these are variants. I drive a Cruise. Buick has the same car, and it's an upscale model of it. There are people that drove Ford Crown Victorias, and then Lincoln has the same car as a MKZ or something like that. And inside, they are completely different in their dashboards, in their seats, and in every luxury item that there is. So I believe in this piece because I want the game to be more efficiently made and for things to come out sooner. But are certain things breaking? So let's take the 325A. I did my review on it. I was disappointed in the ship. It was one of the first ships that that I was interested in. I bought an Aurora and quickly melted, in other words, exchanged it for credit. You can do that with any ship you buy, and then use those funds plus a few more funds of my money, and I bought a 325A. Well, I've bought and melted, which is exchanging for credits, the 325A many times, and then I did it again just recently. I had bought the Cutlass Black so I could do the review, which I have not released at this point because I got a little bit in the weeds at work. And when I saw the 325A was coming into Arena Commander, I did the review really quick, put it back on my hard drive, sold the Cutlass Black, and went out and got the 325A. And then I got to see the things that could break when they implement this in the beginning. We're in alpha, so there's no way I'm being critical right now. I'm just pointing out things that can go wrong. The white from the 300 series base model had totally broken through the skin because there must have been something in the code, in the XML code, that said that that's the color that needed to be displayed. The separate and unique targeting system was not brought online. It was probably not even coded into the XML file, or it got pushed out somehow. So we had a 325A 300i hybrid that didn't work as good as either one of them. And this is going to be fixed in 13.2. I know it will because I trust them and I know that they work their butts off to make sure that they're giving us the best damn space simulator ever. But it doesn't make me feel any better when I go out and spend $85 on the ship and it doesn't work as advertised. But then again, we are in alpha, and it is our job here to find these issues and point them out so they can get them corrected as quickly as possible so we can get on with testing and helping to balance the game. So I'm a little bit happy about the way that they're changing things, especially since this is the most transparent production of a major game I've ever seen. The development that they're going through and how they're bringing us along with it, giving us those opportunities to partake in different design elements, is the most exciting piece of this game for me. I really can't wait to see where we are a year from now as we're coming close to playing Squadron 42 for the first time, which should be out around holiday season of next year. We've got a big year ahead of us, a very big year. There's so many things coming out. Next weekend, we should be seeing the first-person shooter module. And there will be broken pieces of it, I guarantee that, when they first put it out to us about 6 weeks later. And then we step into 2015. God, I never thought I would be going into 2015. So many years ago, when I looked at that number, I was like, I'm going to be so old. In 6 months, I'm going to be 50. But I don't feel it, I don't look it. But I'm excited about going into 2015 instead of cautious because of my age now, because there's so much going on then. Version 1.0 of Arena Commander should be out before then. And that means that we'll be able to fight in as many ships as we own that are single-seaters. So we're going to see things like the Mustang and the Gladius and the Gladiator and the Hornet variants and the 300 variants and so many others that are going to be in this game. And I'm really excited that the Mustang is going to be out and able to be flown, raced, and blown up. Yes, I know many a Mustang is going to meet their end at the hands of a Hornet pilot. The thing is a tin can ready to explode, and I know it's going to be tough to perfect your skills in, but I'm going to do my best. And I can't wait for that at all. So by the end of this year, I can't wait to see all of those things. And then we roll into 2015, and we get things like the PlanetSide module, and for the first time ever, the ability to see each other's avatars in the live game, and to be able to congregate in each other's hangars, I hope, or possibly a bar on one of the PlanetSide module areas that they allow us to be in. And that will be the social module. I'm looking forward to that. These two pieces are going to make the game a little bit easier for people to begin to understand. One of the questions I got from last week was, FPS, is there going to be a first-person shooter element of this? Yes, there is. And I know most of us know that, but there are still some that don't. Because they came in from looking at what Arena Commander was, what Arena Commander is now. And from what they see, it's kind of a multiplayer version of World of Tanks with starships. Little do they know how big, how vast, and how intricate the Star Citizen game is going to be. And then as we round out next year, the first 10 missions of Squadron 42 will be ours to play, ours to live, and ours to remember. I cannot tell you how excited that piece of it, how excited I am for that piece of it, I should say. Chris Roberts, Aaron Roberts, their games are just incredible. Wing Commander, Privateer, Wing Commander 2, Wing Commander 3, I'm not going to go on and name them all. Every single one of them, I could remember all the missions, and they were fun. And they weren't those typical space fighter games like Star Wars, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance, where each one of your missions was a puzzle and you had to figure out how to do it. No, they weren't. They were hardcore, well, for the time. I can't say they were hardcore. They were arcade. But winning them was based on your skill and based on your decision-making process when you were back home in your hangar, in your flight deck, in your command center, with your interactions with the other people that were built into the story. And now here we are, 20 years later from the original Wing Commander, and I can't wait to see how they've expanded on that. For this one, you might want to think of Mass Effect and how your decisions that you make in the game affect where you are later. Now, some of you are going to look at it and say, I don't want to play any single-player game. I just want to get into the multiplayer, like the vast majority of the people that play Call of Duty and Battlefield, which is why those games are horrendous today and have nothing but run out, kill each other, die, get back up, and go in and kill each other and die. This is going to be different. By finishing the Star Citizen Squadron 42 campaign, you gain citizenship in the game, which gives you reputation, which gives you lower prices, which gives you better deals, which gives you better missions. I hope that's what it all is. But that's what they're going at. So I'm going to round this one out with a couple of things. I'm very excited about where they're going with ship development. And I'm going to discuss that more in Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous tomorrow. I'm highly excited with some of the ships that I see on there, which I will leave for you to go out and read, that are coming out that I didn't even know about. And I'm sure they're going to be ships that are in the player universe as NPC ships and not ships that we're going to buy. But you never know. And I'm very excited about 13.2 coming out and fixes being made to the current and future ships that will be out at that point. I really appreciate all of you listening to my thoughts each week. It's becoming one of my most viewed shows each week, and that is amazing. Thank you so much. With that said, I got to talk about the contest really quick. The Freelancer MIS contest is coming to a close rapidly. There's 30 subscribers left with an average of 60 to 70 subscribers a week. It should be over before the end of this week, which means maybe one more Star Citizen video for you to share before that. I will do what I did the last time, which was to put up a spreadsheet of all the entries that you could look at and make sure that yours are there. And I am getting with Ben to figure out what the next contest is going to be. I've asked him for a hefty prize, and we'll see if he can deliver. And if not, I'll see if I can split the cost with him and see how that works. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.